Welcome to the BEASTwriter Family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are going to be breaking down and making sense of all the NFL trades that are being made as it pertains to the AFC East. If you guys don't know, there are some big moving parts, specifically down in the trenches, where the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins both made power play moves for getting powerful offensive tackles. So I'm going to go ahead and break that down brick by brick, and we will go ahead and get started. Before I go ahead and do that, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. If you have yet to do so, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, be sure to turn on the bell notifications so you get notified when I go live or when I upload content. I was looking at my analytics the other day, and I'm noticing about 63% of you are watching all my stuff, liking all my stuff, commenting on all my stuff, which is excellent. But be sure to do me a solid, hit the subscribe button, because we're trying to monetize this beast, and I cannot do that unless I get the subscriber count up and also get the viewership up, which both are going up. So it's a good thing. Obviously, I'm going to be pushing it each and every day because that's how we make money at the end of the day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I did want to say thank you. We did pick up 32 subscribers overnight. And for those who did, and those who have been subscribing all along, you guys will be entered for this game day pennant that was given on the last day at Candlestick, more commonly known as the pick at the stick with Navarro Bowman, complete with the NFL license sticker. Can you guys see that? Yeah, so it's the real deal. It's not like I wouldn't give you anything fake, because that's not how I do business, but you guys know me. I keep everything in mint condition, keep everything nice and tight. So I'm going to be running that giveaway for Family Fan Fridays on Friday at 2:30 p.m. I'm also going to be dishing out this 2018 bobblehead by yours truly, Jimmy Garoppolo, who continues to be coming up in trade rumors. I don't know if you guys heard the rumors literally 30 minutes ago that there's now talks of Washington being in play for his services. I will talk about that at Taco Tuesdays at 2:30 later on this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. But I am giving this out once we hit 1,500 subscribers. So we are at, I think we're at 1,100 right now. So about 400 more subscribers, and we will be unlocking this BEASTwriter giveaway. So thank you again, and we will go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and talk about what is going on as it pertains to the not San Francisco 49ers. We'll talk about that later. As it pertains to the AFC East and the shakeup with the NFL trades that were made. All right, so bear with me for a second. I'm going to toggle between the comments, between these fancy banners you guys like, and everything in between. So I will go ahead and put those up, and we will get started right away. All right, so we're going to start off and kickstart this podcast with the news that the Dolphins made a deal for Isaiah Wilson. Isaiah Wilson was a player that basically ran himself out of town in Tennessee. GM John Robinson had enough. I'm going to go talk about that into details as to what happened there and what transpired there for him to basically, burn your bridges. I guess he burned his bridges. So this trade went down. The Dolphins get Isaiah Wilson basically for nothing. And in return, they just swapped 7th-round picks. So when you get a guy like Isaiah Wilson, you're thinking to yourself, okay, this guy was just a first-round pick last year, and John Robinson doesn't like him that much that he's just like, dude, I don't care. You can have him. I just want something in return because he's under contract on this rookie deal. Yeah, that's what's going on. Now, let's go ahead and take it a step further as I pull up another banner, because I know you guys love these banners, right? Who is Isaiah Wilson? People are saying, who is Isaiah Wilson? Who is this guy? Well, he's a 2020 first-round pick, drafted number 29 overall by the University of Georgia, or out of the University of Georgia. He then clocked in at 6'6", 350 pounds. He's more accustomed to a power run-based scheme as opposed to, let's say, zone blocking scheme, because, again, look at his size. The guy's a mammoth offensive tackle who can also kick into guard, which I'll talk into that about a little bit later, but he's also strong at the point of attack. So the next question is, as I break it down, is why did the Titans trade their 2020 first round pick just 1 year removed from being the Titans right tackle. Like, why would you trade him? This is what happened. John Robinson was basically mad, upset, to say the least. I can't curse on here, but he was basically upset with Mr. Isaiah Wilson. One, he only played 4 snaps during his rookie year. Secondly, he was placed on the COVID list twice. Third, how many strikes can you get, son? Third, he was charged with a DUI back in September. Fourth, wow, he got 4 strikes, bro. The fourth strike was when he was basically suspended week 13 for violating team rules. And John Robinson just had enough. He was supposed to replace Dennis Kelly along the right side, teaming up with Taylor Lewan, who I spoke about on an earlier podcast as it pertains to Trent Williams and what he should be getting on the open market. And Taylor Lewan covers the blind side. So ideally, in John Robinson's head, before going into the 2020 NFL draft, was he's like, okay, I'm going to have Taylor Lewan on one side, then I'm going to have Isaiah Wilson on the other. Well, that never panned out. And I'm just going to pull up this right here on what John Robinson had to say about Isaiah Wilson, his first round pick. He said, and I quote, "And that is going to be on him. I know what the expectation level is here, and it's no different than any other player on the football team. We have a certain standard that we want players to prepare and perform at professionally and as people, and there's a lot of work to be done there." Wow. So he's not only challenging him as a football player, but questioning his off-field behavior and in the community, because he literally just said, we have a certain standard that we want players to prepare and perform at professionally on the field and as people. And there's a lot of work to be done there. Ouch. Ouch. John Robinson is basically throwing shade. Wilson comes back on February 22nd, 2021, and he says, "I am done playing football as a Titan. No further comments." And then he deleted the tweet afterwards. All right, so I'm going to bring back another ticker here. So people are going to wonder, how does this affect the Dolphins moving forward? What exactly is going on with Isaiah Wilson? Well, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins, they are not going to use him at offensive tackle. Yes, he's coming in as an offensive tackle, but that's not how they're going to use him. Why? Simply because the team already, and let me just toggle through the comments. I want to make sure I get to you guys' comments as well. We're getting these comments, but try multitasking. Try doing comments, then throwing up these freaking banners, and then talking to you guys at the same time. It's called multitasking, and I'm not very good at doing this, so bear with me for a second. But before I lose my train of thought like I just did. But no, getting back to Isaiah Wilson, the reason why I believe he's going to be kicked into guard as opposed to offensive tackle, if you watch my earlier podcast as it pertains to my mock drafts, you will know that the Miami Dolphins don't need an offensive tackle. They obviously drafted Austin Jackson, number 18th overall at a USC last year. They then doubled down on those gains at the other tackle position at right tackle by inking a deal in the second round with the number 39th overall pick for Robert Hunt out of Louisiana. So no, they don't need an offensive tackle. What happens here is, if you're connecting the dots, which I always like to do, is now you're teaming up Solomon Kinley, who also played at Georgia alongside Isaiah Wilson, and you can then kick him inside to guard. So now you have Austin Jackson, and then I like saying Austin Jackson. It sounds like Awesome Jackson. You have Austin Jackson on one side, Robert Hunt on the other. You then kick in You then kick in Solomon Kinley, and then you can throw in Isaiah Wilson. And then you have 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen for the foreseeable future. Makes sense, right? How does it not make sense? It's a perfect play by GM Chris Grier, because again, if you watched my analysis early on as it pertains to the Miami Dolphins, you would know that they have the least amount of holes of any NFL team, and I pointed those out on an earlier podcast. All right, so with that being said, that was a smart play by GM Chris Grier, because again, you're not giving up anything. I mean, how many 7th round picks make an NFL roster anyways? Not very many, and especially if you're playing on a team like the Miami Dolphins, they're a playoff caliber team right off the bat. So the odds of you making an NFL roster are slim pickings. Slim pickings. All right, now let's go ahead and move on. I'm going to shoot out these comments here. Again, I am multitasking, so bear with me. All right. Let's get going. Let's get going. We are going to talk about the Raiders. Hi, Billy. How are you doing today? All right. We're going to talk about your Raiders, bro. I got you covered. Sit tight. We are going to start this off right. And let me just go ahead and pull this up for you guys. Again, see, I am so bad at multitasking. I got to get these banners up. Here we go. Now let's talk about the Raiders and right tackle Trent Brown. We all remember who Trent Brown is, right? Trent Brown, for those who don't know, he was just recently traded back to the New England Patriots from the now Las Vegas Raiders, basically again for nothing, for magic beans. And why did the Raiders decide to move on from Trent Brown? Well, I'd be quick to say that, his work ethic isn't the strongest. I've been around him since his rookie year, and I see what he eats, and he has bad eating habits, and weight is the problem. And I feel like sometimes he turns it on when he wants to and then turns it off when he doesn't. You watch him in practice, you can see him taking plays off, especially during the stretching session, which is most important because that's how you prevent injuries. You kind of see him just going through the motions. And yeah, I mean, maybe he had a bad day one day, but that's not the case. It's like a consistent thing that you're seeing. He's just kind of like going through the motions during practice. And his work ethic to me is questionable, especially on the field, but even so off the field. I mean, the guy didn't have a diet program coming out of Florida. Like he said he ate anything. Like that was one of the questions I asked him. Like, hey bro, like what did you eat to get that big? Like you're a big boy. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that's a bad thing, but he's big. And he's like, oh, I didn't have a diet program. I was eating anything. I look at him like, are you serious, bro? Like you get paid millions of dollars. Like you eat whatever you want. He's like, yeah. But hey, then again, you see George Kittle eating Panda Express every day and look at George Kittle. So it doesn't necessarily pertain to everybody. Obviously, if you're winning and if you're on George Kittle's level and eating Panda Express, feed that guy orange chicken all day. Let him just eat orange chicken all day. It's all good for me, man. Like, hey, you're the best in the game, right? But with Trent Brown's case, it's kind of like weight's an issue, which is why Anthony Davis, when he was playing with the 49ers, had de-escalators in his contract because of his weight performance, right? It's just interesting to point out. All right, so again, let's go ahead and talk about the news. Trent Brown traded to the New England Patriots, basically swapping day 3 picks in 2022. I will go ahead and further discuss why that move was made. So the next question is, as I bring up this banner and the comments, multitasking. All right, so who is Trent Brown? Now let's go ahead and talk about the comments. Good morning, Mel. How are you doing? And good morning, Michael. How are you doing? Hope everything is going well with you. Thank you so much for the love and support. Let's just go ahead and talk about Trent Brown, because Trent Brown, people remember him from the San Francisco 49ers, right? Well, he was a 2015 7th-round pick, drafted number 244 overall out of the University of Florida. He then would go on to play for San Francisco from 2015 to 2017 before being traded along with a 5th-round pick to the New England Patriots for a 3rd-round pick, which ultimately ended up being Tarvarius Moore. Okay, then he goes on to play for the Las Vegas Raiders, striking a 4-year, I believe, $66 million contract, played for them for 2019 to now 2020, had 1 Pro Bowl berth. And the question now is, why the heck would the Raiders trade Trent Brown after 2 seasons into his contract? Like, that's questionable, right? No, it's not, because this contract was set up to where it was kind of backloaded in a way where he was owed $29.2 million over the next 2 years. So it was a cap cost saving move. And when you take it a step further, peeling back another layer of the onion to really get to the core, the team earlier released Gabe Jackson. So you can already see the moving parts along the offensive line. They still have Rodney Hudson there, who I believe is a top 5 center in the NFL. But with that being said, there's still a lot of moving parts. You also have Colton Miller, right? The 1st-round pick there. So their places are in peace for them to have future success. I just think they're looking to save some cap money moving forward. And I think they're going to address the offensive line with a number 17th overall pick, because the question becomes, what happens? How does this affect the NFL draft, right? What's going on now that the Raiders traded Trent Brown, right? Traded Trent Brown simply because, like I said earlier, his work ethic is questionable. He's not the most studious when it comes to game film study, but the guy is a beast when healthy, when he turns on. And this is what GM Mike Mayock had to say about Trent Brown. All right, this is what he had to say. He said, Trent's whole thing is when he's healthy. I can't believe he starts it with that. That's so mean. You're so mean, Mike Mayock. Trent's whole thing is when he's healthy, in shape, and ready to go, he's as dominant as any tackle in football. And he proved that early in the 2019 season. Since then, it's kind of been a roller coaster. Mike Mayock said that. Interesting. So really what he needs to do, he further says it, so really what he needs to do more than anything is get himself in the best shape of his life and come out and prove that he is a dominant tackle in the NFL. And really, that's all it takes. If Trent gets in shape and stays committed, there's not a better talent out there. Yes, this is what I heard from positional coaches that I spoke with over the years. But then again, it comes down to work ethic. Does he want it? Does he want to be the best? Does he want to be, the number one left tackle or right tackle? Because you guys know he can play both sides. Does he want to be one of the top 10 offensive tackles in the NFL? Or is he just content with getting paid because he already has a ring with the New England Patriots for this first run? I mean, that's a serious question, right? I mean, if you already have a ring and you're getting paid all this money and you really don't have the work ethic or the character to really push yourself even further, I mean, what exactly are you getting? But hey, the New England Patriots, if there's anybody that can get the best out of his players, it's Bill Belichick. He's the best motivator in all of football. I'm sure he'll find a way. But how is this going to affect the Raiders draft plans, right? So we have to look into how that's going to come into play, right? So when you look at it for me, I look at it from a perspective as the Raiders hold the number 17th overall pick. And when you look at my mock draft or how I see my mock draft playing out based on how it's actually going to play out, you then take a look at what's actually going to be available at the pick number 17, right? So you look at their needs. Obviously, they can use another wide receiver, but they already drafted Henry Ruggs last year, so I don't think that's happening. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Nelson Aguilar, but then you take it a step further and you look on the defensive side of the ball. There's needs across the board. You can look at defensive tackle. You can look at defensive end. They also need an edge rusher. They need a middle linebacker, the quarterback of the defense, like a Fred Warner type. They don't have that there. And then on the back end, they really need some help at free safety. They also, obviously, they have strong safety Jonathan Abram, But with that being said, there's literally needs on all three levels of that defense. And then you peel back another layer of the onion to really get to the core and look at the offensive line. They just released Gabe Jackson, and now they traded Trent Brown. So you can see the moving parts that they're trying to make. Now, if you're GM Mike Mayock, obviously you were the draft guru. That's why you were number one and everyone loved you when you were working with NFL Network. You're looking at the board and being, okay, we know where we're going. And we're probably going to address this offensive line because I know games are won down in the trenches. If you watch Mike Mayock's analysis dating back to his days at NFL Network, and then you can kind of decipher how he's thinking. Because, again, he's going to throw a lot of smoke when it comes to the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders now because of the fact that he doesn't want to show his hand. But at number 17, don't be surprised if they go offensive lineman despite all the needs on the defense side of the football, because if you reach for need, diminishing the value pick at 17, like going after an edge rusher like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame, you'd be doing yourself a disservice. I think Mike Mayock would rather get a guy like, let's say, Alex Leatherwood, blindside left tackle, right, out of Alabama, or they can even roll and trade back a little bit and get a guy like Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. Or they can even go back. If I'm looking at my draft analysis right here, there's a few other players that can come off the board. You got Wyatt Davis, a guard out of the Ohio State University. So there's a lot of moving parts that they can go with. And ultimately, I see that playing out because, again, when you put 2 and 2 together, you cannot tell me they're not making the offensive line a top priority, because when you get rid of 2 of your starting 5 offensive linemen, you're not going to have success. And with Derek Carr back there, he needs all the help he can get. Just saying. Just saying. So what do you guys think about that? That's how I see it playing out. I think they're going to go that route, but we are going to go ahead and move on. Ask me any questions you have. I'm going to shoot up the questions. Robert Charette says trade them. Yes, I guess they can trade them. Niners all day 55 says Seahawks said that they're not going to tag Griffin. We should be all over that. Rebecca Deep from Facebook, thank you for tuning in. She says Jimmy bobblehead. Yes, if you want a bobblehead, be sure to subscribe to my channel in the lower right hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. It's a good thing. It's really a good thing. Pop D Skilling, thank you for tuning in. Yes, you will be entered for the giveaway if, again, all you have to do is subscribe to my channel. Obviously, spread the word because, the more growth that we have in the BEASTwriter family, the better off all of us are. And the more giveaways I can give. So I'm all about the giveaways. Always about the giveaways. All right. Ronald Rice from Facebook asked, please tell me we aren't going after Sam Darnold. This is the question that's been asked by some of the players are even asking me this. Some of the coaches are asking me what's going on and around the NFL. And I'm just saying, you know what? Don't be surprised if Sam Darnold comes to San Francisco. And the reason I say that is because I pointed this out in an earlier podcast. It comes down to the critical factors. For me, it's almost like, well, you don't want to give up the farm for Deshaun Watson. You don't want to give up your core foundational players. You guys all know how I feel about Fred Warner and my ties to Fred Warner. George Kittle, you don't want to give up. Nick Bosa, you don't want to give up. So I consider those players to be untouchable. Some people would disagree. That's fine because you're getting a top 5 franchise quarterback in return. So it's a good debate. At the end of the day, I'm looking at it from a locker room dynamic, and maybe because I have an inside track, knowing these players and knowing what's going on and what's being discussed behind closed doors and how that would impact the locker room. But at the end of the day, getting back to the exact scenario that you're talking about as it pertains to Sam Darnold, he would become cheaper, and you don't have to give up those guys. Now, cheaper doesn't also always necessarily mean better, but when you see the supporting cast that Sam Darnold had to work with in New York, it wasn't much. So what sample size are you pulling from that's fair? It's not. So if you're Kyle Shanahan and you're GM John Lynch and you're saying, hey, we can get a guy like Sam Darnold, because let's face it, if he was to come out of the 2021 NFL draft, he'd definitely be right behind, I would say, Trevor Lawrence and definitely ahead of Zach Wilson. He might be the number 2. Possibly, actually, I'd put him number 1. I'd put him as the best quarterback coming out of this draft class had he come out. Sam Darnold. Yes. People call me crazy, but that's, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I would take Sam Darnold over any other quarterback in this year's draft outside of maybe Trevor Lawrence. And that's just how highly I think of Sam Darnold. So if I'm thinking this, I don't know how many other coaches are thinking this, but other coaches I spoke with who also were on that Jets coaching staff really like Sam Darnold. Just saying. I'm just saying. Okay. Popsy Skilling from Facebook, thank you for tuning in and welcome to the BEASTwriter family. He says, hope we get a good trade for Jimmy G. Did you guys hear about the Jimmy G trade to the Washington talk? If you guys haven't heard that, Dan, I don't want to butcher his last name, Dan Salio, I think, on Twitter, tweeted out that Washington is now in discussions for Jimmy G. See, people are saying, oh, no, it's, Jimmy's our quarterback. And I said yesterday in the live, I was like, dude, calm down. There's a reason why Fred Warner has not been extended yet. I'm just saying. Nah, but we don't know what's going on, man. There's so much going on, so much stuff going on. We have franchise tags. People are asking me about the franchise tag. We're talking about the franchise tag here. No, the franchise tag. So for those who don't know, teams can now slap the franchise tag, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive franchise tag. Those are 2 different tags. I'm going to go ahead and break it down so you guys have some educational purposes as to watching my videos. I mean, anytime we hear a guy gets franchise tag, like, what does that mean, right? So there's 2 types of tags. One is called a non-exclusive franchise tag. So let's say I am Allen Robinson, right, from the Chicago Bears. I just got tagged and they slapped the non-exclusive franchise tag. That means I have the right to negotiate with other teams and come back with an offer. And should the Bears not match it, then I get compensation. The exclusive franchise tag means that I can't negotiate with other teams. I can only negotiate with the team that tagged me. And that's where it gets sticky. And that's where players get upset because it's like, dude, you tagged me, but you don't want to pay me because I can't see what I can get on the open market, bro. Like, That sucks. Like, dude, come on. But at the end of the day, what? It's a business. It's a business. No one's looking out for you except for yourself, and that's how it is. That's the NFL. It's a brutal game, but that's the truth. Those are the difference between the two tags, and that's why it's really interesting to see when players get tagged, because ultimately some players get upset and then they wonder what's going on. Like, what is going on there? What's going on there? Well, now you know. So let's go ahead and talk about the free agency tracker. I'm going to go ahead and break this down for you guys brick by brick because I have a list of this. If you guys can chime in, because obviously I'm doing this live, I don't know who else got tagged, but I'm going to break down the list of franchise tagged players up to this point. So we have my list, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Chris Godwin from the Tampa Bay Bucks got tagged. Then you have Allen Robinson, who I just mentioned from the Chicago Bears, also got tagged. You also got guys like Brandon Scherf from Washington, who just got tagged. You got Taylor Moton from the Carolina Panthers, offensive tackle, who just got tagged. So that's what? That's dang, I suck at math. I think that's what, 4 or 5, whatever. I'm just going to say 5 right now. Wait, hon. So let's go down the list. So it's Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Brandon Scherf, Taylor Moton, Cam Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars also got tagged. That's 5. Then you got guys like Leonard Williams from the New York Giants. He got tagged. You also got word, I think it was late last night or yesterday, that Marcus May from the New York Jets is going to get tagged, the free safety there. And then you obviously have the Denver Broncos free safety, Justin Simmons, getting tagged. So there's about, 8 or 9 players there. And with all those players getting tagged, more are to come. There's also players that are not going to get tagged and who are going to hit the open market, which is interesting, right? So again, I run my own grading system. I don't rely on PFF. I don't believe in PFF. That's not a knock on them. It's just I see grades that they put out, and I'm just like, there's no way that guy gets a grade. And then ultimately that player ends up being a first-team All-Pro in my grading system, so might as well just keep with my own grading system in the first place. Like Tyrann Mathieu. Anyways, who likes my stuff and likes my grading system. But getting back to what I was talking about, the franchise tag and how that plays out, and all these other guys that are getting tagged. Well, there's some guys that aren't getting tagged, right? Like you have guys like Steelers' Bud Dupree, who's a top 5 edge rusher from the 3-4 outside linebacker position. He's not going to get tagged. Why? Well, he's coming off a torn ACL, but the year prior, he had a year just like Eric Armstead had, in the sense that he was having a breakout season in a contract year. Ultimately, the Steelers decided to tag him. This year, they opted not to. The question is why? For all you Steelers fans out there, I already explained this in an earlier podcast during the season, so I foresaw this 6-8 months, 4 or 5 months in now, so it's old news for me. I knew they weren't going to tag him. I actually pointed out my reasons why, and that's because they drafted Alex Highsmith in the 3rd round. He was getting starter reps once Bud Dupree went down to injury. I think they're going to roll with Alex Highsmith as the edge rusher opposite of TJ Watt. All these mocks that have the Steelers going edge rusher, they really don't know what they're talking about, because why would you take an edge rusher when you're already high in Alex Highsmith, who is playing at a Pro Bowl level in my grading system? Well, probably because they don't have a grading system. I do. Alex Highsmith is the real deal. He's going to be a guy that can put up 5 to 8 sacks on any given season. So for me, I like Alex Highsmith. I like what he brings to the table. Obviously, it was a blessing in disguise for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because now they got a larger sample size to pull from, knowing that Bud Dupree was basically on the fence on returning anyways because they can't afford him. So GM Kevin Colbert did a nice job of assuring and looking into the future, looking into the 2-3 year outlook as to what the financials of keeping Bud Dupree really are, because TJ Watt has not been extended a long-term deal yet, and obviously he's the number 1 priority. All right. I love talking football, can't you tell? All right, let's move on. Let's go through your comments. I know there are a lot of comments here. Okay, SF Gold Rush from Twitter says, yo, Ryan, does Kyle Long coming back become an option for the Fires since it seems like Trent is gone? No, I don't see Kyle Long coming back. Now watch it happen. No, but in all seriousness, I don't see him coming back, bro. I think the Niners would be better served to continue to build through the draft. Obviously, this draft class for offensive linemen is not as strong as in years past, but that's not to say you can't find a gem in the later rounds. Every single year, there's these players that fall through the cracks for whatever their case may be. Maybe they come out of a small school like Quinn Miners, right? Like Quinn Miners, he may be a Division III kid that comes out and becomes a Pro Bowl player, right? And while he did have a great Senior Bowl weekend, we need a larger sample size to pull from. So it was impressive to see him shine going up against D1 talent and the best and the cream of the crop. But at the end of the day, it's like that was still one weekend. I mean, anybody who plays competitive sports knows, there's always a time, where that one kid just, okay, that came out of nowhere. And then he goes back to being normal. So what are we getting with Quinn Miners? I actually like his play. Again, I see him going as a day 2 pick. I don't see him dropping in day 3. So he would be a nice pickup. But getting back to offensive tackle, no, I wouldn't go with Kyle Long. I would go in another direction. All right. Landon Meyer from Facebook says, are we staying out and taking Patrick Surtain? I like Patrick Surtain. You guys know how I feel about Patrick Surtain Jr. I think he's the most fundamentally sound cornerback coming out of the draft since Ahmed Plummer back in 2000, drafted out of the Ohio State University, number 24 by your San Francisco 49ers. But getting back to Patrick Surtain Jr., I don't think he's going to fall that far at pick number 12. If anything, they're going to have to move up ahead of the Denver Broncos or the Dallas Cowboys or even the Carolina Panthers, all who pick ahead of the 49ers and inside the top 10. All right, let's move on. Gosh, I can't remember. I'm remembering draft order. This is how much studying I do. Draft order, where players are picked. It's nuts. Dating back to 2000, who does that? Going back to 2000. Jerry Yang, what's up, buddy? Thoughts on the home all red 99 for throwback jerseys? I did see your Twitter comment. I think they're a little bit different than the actual throwbacks. So the actual throwbacks, I believe, were made by Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1994 season. For some reason, they look off. I need to do a comparison, but the concept is the same. I mean, you have the shadow outline of the numbers, and you have on the back the nameplate. But I believe the nameplate was also shadowed out, if I'm not mistaken. Also, the stripes on the side were a little bit different. So I'd have to look at it, but they look a little bit different. Also, the tone of the color of those 1994 throwbacks were a lot more reddish. Is that even a word? Reddish was a lot more vibrant. A lot more vibrant than what the red that we're seeing, or that one that you posted on Twitter. So I don't know. That's interesting, but I'm going to take a look at that. Those are my favorite jerseys. A lot of players love them. So my man JP, Arizona Cardinals fan, what's going on, my man JP? BEASTwriter Family coming in hot. Dolphins trading for Wilson is bad too. Yeah, well, it's damaged goods, because at the end of the day, what are you getting with Isaiah Wilson, right? Are you getting a guy who's going to have another DUI, who's going to be a bad player in the community, not really going to be performing on the field, being immature? I mean, these are things that you're really taking a flyer on. But then again, if you're GM Chris Greer, giving up a 7th-round pick for a player who was a first-round draft pick the year prior, drafted number 29 overall, may not be a bad play. Because at the end of the day, what are you ultimately losing? Nothing, because you still got a 7th-round pick in return. That's just my thinking. If I'm GM Chris Greer, I would make that play, because, again, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right, Scott Davidson from YouTube. What's going on, my man? How you doing today? Raiders aren't very structured, disciplined. He gets that in New England. Yes, very true. Very, very true. All right, let's move on. This is a Facebook user, says, aloha, Ryan. Aloha to you too. Mahalo for tuning in. I cannot see your username account, basically because on StreamYard, you have to give access to show your name, and ultimately you will have to turn that on. And I can include that on the next stream. People are saying, how come my name's not showing up? Well, that's the reason why. And thank you for tuning in. But for you, please subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so, in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Is it here? Yeah. As you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. All right, let's move on. Christopher Ross from Facebook says, what are your thoughts about the Niners possibly getting Darnold? I'm not sold on the idea, but curious about his potential. Yes, I just touched base on that. I think Sam Darnold would be great. As I catch up on your comments, let's just take off the franchise tag tracker, because we are no longer talking about that. All right, let's move on. All right, so Ruben Albert Gonzalez says we need Emmanuel Sanders. that could very well be in play because obviously he might be a cap casualty. Yep. 49ers Ultimate Report chiming in. Why does everyone hate Darnold, Beast? Is he already really a bad quarterback? No, he's not a bad quarterback. He is an extremely good quarterback. He just needs a strong supporting cast around him. It's not like being a defensive player where you need to have defensive talent around you to be the most successful at your position. Because like I said, I keep pointing out that other players mentioned, right? I'm not going to dive into that. I've been beating it like a dead horse. But getting back to Sam Darnold, of course he needs a strong offensive line. Look what he has working with him. I mean, Mekhi Becton, really? He's a rookie, bro. And then you look at the moving parts there, right? Like, okay, Le'Veon Bell gets traded, right? Or gets released, whatever, released or traded, and then he goes off to the Kansas City Chiefs and stuff. So, like, he really wasn't getting it done in New York anyways. So, like, what exactly do you have there? And then you trade Robbie Anderson to the Carolina Panthers, and then it's like, what the heck happens there? Or he was released or signed with whatever. I think he signed with, actually, he wasn't traded. I think he signed with the Carolina Panthers. So now you're just left with Jamison Crowder at the wide receiver 1, and then who else do you have there? Like, you go out and get Denzel Mims in the second round, and I said Denzel Mims can only run a certain amount of route cheese, but oh no, this guy's a beast. I was like, okay, dude, he's not a beast. He's going to be a bust. And it turns out my Twitter, YouTube receipts are right. So, getting back to Sam Darnold, he needs help in New York. Robert Saleh needs to give him help if he's going to make him his quarterback. Ultimately, if he gets traded to the 49ers, I think that'll be a smart play for both organizations because then the New York Jets can pick their quarterback at number 2, whoever they want, whether it's Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, pick your flavor. And then Niners can move on with Sam Darnold without giving up the farm for a guy like Deshaun Watson. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, let's move on. Rashi from YouTube says, who would be a bigger loss in the locker room and on the field? Warner or Bosa if one of them were to be traded? Ooh, that's a great question, Rashi. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to say Fred Warner just because of his longevity, his tenure. He's the quarterback of the defense. Obviously, I have ties to Fred Warner, but when you look at it from a schematic standpoint and the team leader of the defense, if you were to ask me who the team leader was, I think 95% of the players would agree and say it's Fred Warner, not Nick Bosa. Now, that's not to say Nick Bosa doesn't have just as good of an impact because obviously edge rushers are a premium position, just like on the flip side, left tackles are a premium position. But with that being said, you still need the heart and soul of the defense, someone who the team can identify with, building up that team's cultural identity. Fred Warner's been there since day one. So has Nick Bosa, but he's been injured. So when you take all that into account and see Fred Warner's rise, especially how fast he did coming out as a third-round pick out of BYU in 2018, you can really see the success he's been having. And ultimately, I think he's the engine that makes that defense go. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, D'Amico Ryans was also a linebacker. I'm sure he has some kind of feelings toward Fred Warner and keeping him in San Francisco. You see how I did that? All right, Michael Thomas from YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. He says, Rashawn Slater, possibility for us in the first round. I am a big fan of O-line play, and he seems a decent offensive. Yes, Rashawn Slater, again, he's more of an offensive guard, in my opinion, than he is an offensive tackle. However, he can play both. At 12, if he's available, I would consider him. But is he going to drop that far? Because, again, when you look at the horizontal board, there's a huge drop-off after Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. I mean, a huge drop-off. So if he's there, I think you have to consider it. But then it also depends on whether their positional need drops. I mean, all these quarterbacks are going to be pushed up the board. You see Kyle Pitts, he's obviously likely to go in the top 10 picks, kind of like a Vernon Davis scenario, but maybe in that 7 to 8 range. But with that being said, we just have to let the draft play out as it should. Obviously, free agency is going to have a direct impact on the NFL draft, and we're going to have to see how that plays out starting Monday. All right, let's move on. JP says, where do you see Hassan Reddick going? I want to keep him, but I don't think it will happen. That's a good question. JP is an Arizona Cardinals fan, part of the BEASTwriter family, and been with me since day one. So, JP, to answer your question, I think they do re-sign Hassan Reddick. I really, truly believe they re-sign Hassan Reddick. I think they're going to dump Chandler Jones. And correct me if I'm wrong, but again, I pointed this out earlier, how you would be saving the team $15 $2 million or $15.5 million in cap savings. If you cut Chandler Jones, then you can roll over that money into signing Hassan Reddick, who had a breakout year, double-digit sacks, and basically was wrecking havoc in that second half of the season in a contract year. Extend the younger player because we don't know what's going to happen with Chandler Jones playing in the last year of his contract. GM Steve Keim has been trying to pound out that deal for the better half of a year and a half now. Can't get it done. So if you're GM Steve Keim, do you want to keep Chandler Jones playing in the last year of his contract, knowing that he's not going to be back next season, and you'll also lose Hassan Reddick? Or would you be better served to just release Chandler Jones, cut your ties now, and then resign Hassan Reddick long-term? So a lot of moving parts. Obviously, we still know what's going on with Raul Alford. He's going to get released, saving the team $7.5 million in cap savings. So that's going to give GM Steve Keim a little bit more breathing room. But again, there's a lot of moving parts there. We just have to see how it plays out. All right. He says, Hassan is going to the open market. It's on IG. Well, if it's on IG, bro, and Hassan Reddick is on the open market, now the Cardinals are in a bidding war. That's why they have to release Robert Alford. That's why they have to release some of these other guys and Chandler Jones and start the negotiating process before free agency hits on Monday. All right. What's up, Mr. Fred Warner? Besides Sertan, what other corner can the 49ers pick at 12? Ooh, you know who I really like? This is who I really like, Fred. I like J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. I know people are high on Caleb Farley, but I am higher on a guy like J.C. Horn. I just think for the system and that cover 3 scheme as a boundary cornerback, keeping things in front of him, when you look at the critical factors, the height, weight, speed factor, his ability to close and make plays on the football, his ability to track the deep ball downfield, I really like J.C. Horn's game. Plus, he's a legacy. His father, Joe Horn, played for the New Orleans Saints during the 2000s. And he's a guy who I see gets it, just like Patrick Surtain Jr. He's a legacy. He gets it. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers took another South Carolina Gamecock. They love Gamecocks dating back to GM Trent Baalke days, you know, when they drafted guys like Bruce Ellington and a few other players there. But Marcus Lattimore comes to mind. He had a torn ACL, drafted him in the 4th round. And then you roll over into the John Lynch regime. And then they pick up Deebo Samuel in the 2nd. And then now they can get J.C. Horn in the 1st. So, yeah, I like J.C. Horn. All right. Dan from Facebook asks, thank you for tuning in, Dan. Welcome to the BEASTwriter family. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all things Beast and be entered for our weekly giveaways and daily giveaways and milestone giveaways. We do a lot of cool things here in the BEASTwriter family, all right? So it's not just Niner fans here. We have fans from all 32 fan bases, and we have a great thing going where social media engagement is encouraged. All right, do we have enough money to pay Williams? No, you don't. You do not have enough money to pay Trent Williams. That answer is plain and simple. They have to clear up cap space. I don't know how they're going to do it. All right. 49ers Ultimate Report. Which of the current 49ers free agents that the 49ers really need to sign? First priority, Fred Warner. And although he's not a free agent, he's going to be at the end of the year. So you don't want to get to that point. So re-sign Fred Warner. Secondly, I always spoke about Jason Verrett. I think he needs to be re-signed, and Kyle Juszczyk. Obviously, Trent Williams needs to be re-signed too. He's a high priority. Ultimately, they're going to be in a bidding war, as Greg Rosenthal of NFL.com pointed out. And ultimately, he's going to be going somewhere else, playing for a team like the Indianapolis Colts. Hopefully that Twitter receipt and YouTube receipt hold up. Definitely somewhere else, though. All right. Alan McLean from YouTube. Thank you for tuning in, Alan. Appreciate it. Who's your favorite sleeper in the draft? I like Quincy Rochet out of the University of Miami. I think everyone knows about my draft crush, Najee Harris. I think I'm tied to Najee Harris, just like I was tied to Fred Warner. Just like I was tied to Justin Jefferson last year. But this year, my sleeper is Quincy Rochet out of the University of Miami. He is a guy that's going to fly under the radar, and this edge class is not the strongest. However, Quincy Rochet really gets it. I'm very high on Quincy Rochet. I think he has a great get-off. He has the ability to trim the corner. He can convert that speed to power. He uses offensive tackles, momentum against them, knows how to leverage and gain inside leverage when attacking the quarterback. Also can use speed on the outside. I really like Quincy Rochet out of University of Miami. Now people are going to piggyback on this. Go ahead and write your article, but you heard it here first. BEASTwriter Family. I'm telling you, Quincy Rochet is the real deal. All right, let's move on. JP says, I asked Tony Pauline from Pro Football Network, and he loves JC Horn. He also said he'd go before. See? I'm telling you. I don't even follow Tony Pauline, but I'm saying, man, my YouTube receipts are spot on, bro. And these guys get paid the big bucks. I don't. But yeah, JC Horn is better than Caleb Farley. For those who say Caleb Farley is better, I'm telling you, he's not better. Now watch me be wrong. But no, I in all seriousness, I really like JC Horn. I like JC Horn for the things I just mentioned earlier. He's the real deal. Go ahead and shoot me your questions, guys. If you guys have any other questions regarding the 49ers or any NFL trades or any NFL franchise tags that are going on as we discuss all things NFL, I'm going to shoot up this banner. We're just going to go ahead and do this. Again, if you guys are just tuning in, we are running giveaways here in the BEASTwriter family. I don't like calling you guys fans, followers, or anything like that. I think that's weird. Follow me on Instagram, bro. Follow me on Twitter. Like, that just sounds weird. So I call you guys family because when you're here, you're family, right? Like, I think that's more appropriate for, like, I don't know. I just never got, hey, bro, follow me. You follow me yet, bro? Like, dude, calm down. All right, anyways, so we're giving away this Candlestick last game at Candlestick pennant. Again, it's complete with the NFL license logo. And we are going to be releasing the winner of this on Family Fridays. I changed it from Fam Fridays to Family Fridays, obviously. And that will be released on our weekly Friday show at 2:30 p.m. I'm also releasing this 2018 bobblehead. Again, complete with the NFL license sticker. Can you guys see that? Yes. All right. Still in this box. Never took it out. Still in there. Still fresh and so clean like Jimmy G. And once we get 1,500 subscribers, I'll be releasing this. So we're about 350 subscribers off. All you guys got to do is just share the content. Tell people to subscribe to my channel. If you're watching on Twitter, you can do this simply by clicking the link in my bio. It's always there for you. That's not going to go away. So if you're on Twitter, do yourself a favor. Get yourself a YouTube account. It's free just like Twitter. Click the link in my bio and go ahead. And that way you'll be entered for our weekly giveaways. Also, if you're not a 49er fan, as I know, I would say 15 to 20% of you guys. I would say more than like 25% of you guys now. So for you 25% that aren't Niner fans, don't worry. Go ahead and we will go to the team's website and you will get to choose a value of $25 of whatever it is you want, like a hat, beanie, t-shirt, whatever the case may be. As long as it's $25 value, and you'll be good to go. I'll go ahead and ship that out to you right away. All right. So again, this is a good time to go ahead and discuss all things NFL. And we're just going to continue this. D Wade, who is a Panthers fan, says, who do you think Panthers should target in free agency? Well, that's a great question. Thank you for tuning in. Again, like I said, I have fans from all over different fan bases, but Carolina Panthers fans, I just want to say keep pounding. The Panthers fans have been nothing but loyal to me. Awesome, great people. I don't know. They're the nicest fan base ever. And I can't say the same about every fan base. Not throwing shade, but there's some fan bases that are just like, I don't know, it's different. I'm not going to say the word, but they're different. But Carolina Panthers fans, man, very nice. Same with the Detroit Lions fans, very nice. Linda Farrar, who I got to know before covering the NFL as part of media for the 49ers. She was a Detroit Lions fan. Till this day, I keep in touch with her. We were just tailgating next to each other, and I invited her over to our tailgate. I said, come on. And she was like, everyone's riding her because she's a Detroit Lions. I'm like, dude, leave her alone, dude. Like, dude, like, leave these people alone. Like, they're just trying to enjoy the game. So I brought them over. And, yeah, till this day, good vibes only, man. She's a huge supporter of mine. So, Lydia, if you're watching, thank you so much. All right. So who should the Panthers target in the first round or in free agency? That's a great question. Well, you got to look at their needs. Obviously, they franchise tag Taylor Moton, right? So he's not going anywhere. If you look at the needs, I'm just going to pull it up on my little mock draft here. The team needs that they have, they can go in any different direction, right? You can go offensive line, defensive line, middle linebacker, outside linebacker. For me, in free agency, you have to really look at what exactly is out there. So I put up a podcast earlier. Obviously, that one missed. I admit when I'm wrong, but I did say that Brandon Scherff would be a smart play for the Carolina Panthers. Ultimately, he got franchise tagged, and that was my first miss in a while. But yeah, he got franchise tagged, and it's going to be one of those things where I think the Panthers are going to go after an offensive lineman. Now, who that offensive lineman is, that remains to be seen. But again, there's so many cap cuts coming up. And with free agency frenzy starting next week, I think there's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of people getting tagged. Obviously, we saw Allen Robinson get tagged, but that's more for smoke because I think that's more for trade bait. If you didn't catch that earlier podcast, that's holding up, came back strong with the Allen Robinson prediction. That's holding up as I think he's going to be shipped off to the Baltimore Ravens for a guy like Orlando Brown Jr. from the Baltimore Ravens, who is disgruntled in Baltimore. All right. Woo! All right, let's move on. Beast is the hardest working guy on YouTube. Thank you so much. I work my butt off, but I think a lot of us work our butt off. But yeah, covering all 32 NFL teams is no joke. But that's how I like to do it, right? It's not spreading myself too thin because the way I see it is this. If you're going to talk about a certain player on a certain team, you need to know all 32 NFL teams. Otherwise, you're just comparing the comparables on that respective roster. You're just comparing players to that roster. That's not fair. And then taking a step further, then if you're saying, and you go outside the box and be like, okay, well, how good is Jason Verrett or how good is Emmanuel Mosley, right? How good is he really? And then you kind of, what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing Emmanuel Mosley to maybe a Killer Witherspoon who's already on the roster? Or are you comparing Emmanuel Mosley to someone that's on a different team and being like, oh, look at the comparables. Okay, so actually who is better of the two? And are we being unfair with Emmanuel Mosley? See, that's why I run my grading systems, because my grading systems never lie. They never lie. They always check out. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them my way. I'll be sure to get all your questions answered, all your answers. I'll be sure to get all your answers, all your questions answered. See, I'm trying to multitask here. All right, Christopher Ross says, do you think the Niners will have the fan days during training camp this year? I'm really looking forward to taking my two kids. 2 years ago, my son got 4 or 5 autographs, and he still talks about that. See, that's what it's all about, Chris. It's all about giving back to the fans, you know. That's tough. I mean, that's a COVID question. I really don't know what's going on. A lot of people are getting vaccinated. Obviously, the numbers are dropping, but we still have to wear our masks and be cautious about it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of a catch-22. I don't think there'll be fans by training camp, but then again, you're talking about what, 3, 4, 5 months from now. So it's going to be interesting. If they do have fans, which is a likely scenario, if all goes well, stay optimistic here. It might be at capacity, right? It might be at 25% capacity. And so maybe what the Niners will do is they'll allocate X amount of days, on this day and this day have, 25% of the fans or whatever that number is. And the next day, maybe they'll have another 25% and then another 25%. So I know in the past, being a season ticket holder myself, yes, I had season tickets, even though I was going to the games for free up in the press box because I worked there and my office was there. But yeah, I give away my season tickets as giveaways. See, that's how cool I am. But no, getting back to your question, I am optimistic that some percentage of fans will be there. But again, that's up in the air. I mean, at this point, no one really knows. I hope so. It was a good way for me to engage with all you guys too, right? And do the giveaways. That was always fun during training camp. All right. Alan said, as it looks like Trent is going to be too expensive for us now, what do you think our plan B should be? Thank you for tuning in, Alan. I think the plan right now is to really focus on not overpaying for a free agent, right? Don't hit the panic button. Let's continue to build through the draft. Now, I just said that the offensive tackle class is not the strongest, but that's not to say you can't find a hidden gem or maybe a developmental player that you can develop for the foreseeable future. With that being said, also, I do think they need to solidify the offensive line. And the best way of doing that, especially if you plan on keeping Jimmy G upright, is to have some kind of a veteran presence. Well, I like Daniel Brunskill, and that's not because I attended San Diego State University. It's because I think Daniel Brunskill can actually play the left side. Why not give him the opportunity to actually win that position and see what you got in-house before delving on and overpaying for some of these high-priced free agents who are going to reset the market in a decreased salary cap? It just doesn't make financial sense. So if I was GM John Lynch, I would like to give other people an opportunity in-house to win that job outright, see where it goes. If you don't believe that they can hold it down there, then you might want to look into free agency, because at the end of the day, you have to keep your most prized asset healthy. Ultimately, that guy's Jimmy Garoppolo, and he hasn't been healthy for the better half of the last 3 years. All right. All right, let's move on. Kevin Jeter from YouTube says, "What's up, bro? Hope all is good." What is going on, Kevin? How you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Andrew Schaefer says, "Odds that the 49ers sign Alex Mack. I think they need an experienced center to elevate the entire line." I agree with you, Andrew. Thank you for tuning in from YouTube. The 49ers, yes, they do need an offensive line help. They do need an offensive center to really make the line calls. Obviously, Weston Richburg's all but gone. I'm hearing he's already done. Like they already swiped left on him. He's not returning at all. So he's already gone. But as it pertains to the offensive lineman and Alex Mack, I just don't like his age. I think he would be serviceable. He'd be a plug and play, obviously. But what you're really banking on is, his Pro Bowl previously, right? His Pro Bowl performance previously, and back with the Atlanta Falcons. And I just don't see that. I just don't see it. So I think the Niners would be better served to go after maybe a guy, depending on the price, like Corey Linsley out of the Green Bay Packers. I think he would be a smart play. But at the end of the day, it comes down to keeping your in-house priorities first. So you start off with Fred Warner, number one. And then you look at Jason Verrett, Kyle Juszczyk, those guys, because we all know Trent Williams all but gone. He's already going to test free agent waters. He's going to reset the market. So he's already gone. Trent Williams is not coming back. Let's get that in your guys' head. And if he does come back, it'd be a miracle, because it comes down to money. At the end of the day, Trent Williams wants his money. And he should. It's his last contract he's ever going to get. All right, so 49ers Ultimate Report says, who should be a solid backup to backup Jimmy G? Who should be a solid backup to backup? That's a great question. A great backup to back. You know what? Nick Mullins had a roller coaster season. I mean, he had some great games, set up some really good numbers, made history. A little too inconsistent, a little too erratic with his decisions. Do they have to go outside, or can they roll with Nick Mullins for another year? I know it sounds crazy, and you guys are like, what the heck, you're saying Nick Mullins? But no, I mean, he knows the system. He's not horrible. You know what you're getting with Nick Mullins. Obviously, he makes some, like, what are you doing, bro, throws. But at the end of the day, it's like, compared to what you're going to get in return on the open market, maybe you draft a quarterback, right? Maybe you draft someone in day 2 and be like, okay, you'll be a backup, right? Whoever that quarterback is, there's going to be some type of learning curve. Nick Mullins, you already know what you're getting. So if you guys really think that the Super Bowl window is today, and then you roll in a rookie quarterback as the backup, as opposed to a guy like Nick Mullins, do they really think that Super Bowl window is today? Because I don't see it. And especially with that shaky offensive line, that's another myriad of issues that we have to discuss, right? So I don't know. That's a good question. I think I would keep Nick Mullins, but then again, we have to see what else is out there. There's still a lot of moving parts. But as of right now, I don't. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick? That could be a smart play. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick a lot. All right. Rashi from YouTube says, if you think the Niners were to trade for Darnold, do you know when this would happen? Would they need to wait till do the deal for cap reasons, like trade kickers against the cap? That's a pretty loaded question. To answer your question, I think they would have to make this trade before the draft. And the reason I say that is because when you wait till after the draft capital goes down, picks are already been made. And now you're looking at future draft capital when you don't really know the draft position, because the 2021 season hasn't even begun yet. So I think you make it before June 1, if anything. All right. Max Stahl from YouTube. What's going on, Max? How you doing on this Taco Tuesdays? Again, for those who are just tuning in, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. We are running really cool giveaways. For those who don't know, I am just going to put it out here. The BEASTwriter Family, which I like to call you guys. If you subscribe to my channel, you guys are part of the BEASTwriter Family. This 2018 bobblehead, once you reach 1,500 subscribers, I'm already giving away this game day pennant at the last game at the Stick. most commonly known, the pick at the stick by Navarro Bowman, complete with the NFL license. Both things have that. And we are doing really cool things. See? Not lying. It's all right there. All right. So, yeah, subscribe to my channel, guys. Hit the subscribe button. And again, if you're watching on Twitter, you can do this anytime. Just go ahead and click the link in my bio. It's the YouTube link where you can open an account free, just like Twitter, and you can subscribe there. I post all my Twitter, YouTube receipts there. If you notice, I rarely touch Twitter nowadays. It's just mostly to repost my YouTube content because the social media engagement in the BEASTwriter family is nothing but awesome. I want to hear your comments on what you guys think about the BEASTwriter family here in YouTube. What do you guys like about it most? Like, as opposed to any other social media platform, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook. What do you like about the tube? Drop those comments. All right. Max Dahl says, should the 49ers consider signing Kyle Long? Just came out of retirement. As I already spoke about this. Yes, he came out of retirement, but I don't think we should re-sign Kyle Long. I think they need to go younger and go in a different direction. All right, Keith Baldwin from YouTube said Jimmy isn't starting this upcoming season. All right. So he says Josh Rosen is the backup. Yes, Josh Rosen is the backup today. All right. Keith Baldwin, thank you for your analysis. Please explain to me in further detail why you think Jimmy isn't starting this upcoming season, and secondly, why you believe Josh Rosen will ultimately become the backup. All right. What do you think it would take to get the Darnold trade done? Great question, Rashi from YouTube. I already answered this in an earlier podcast. If you go and watch my podcast playlist, it's at the end of each podcast episode. So as you're watching this live stream, just fast forward to the end. You'll see a podcast playlist. There you can see all my YouTube receipts, everything I had to say in real time, dating back to the first podcast episode. You will find a Sam Darnold gem podcast as to what it would take to land the New York Jets quarterback. You can also YouTube search it. Just type in BEASTwriter Sam Darnold, or for Google search engines, you can just type that in or whatever the case may be. It'll pop up. Sam Darnold, BEASTwriter podcast, whatever. It'll pop up and you will be able to see that podcast and what I had to say. It was like a 15, 20 minute in-depth analysis on making that deal and what it would take to land the USC product. All right. Andrew Schaefer says, how about Humphrey or Dickerson in the draft? Maybe round 2. Love the show. Love the fan interaction. It's awesome. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the love. My hat's off to you, buddy. Thank you for being part of the BEASTwriter family. We are going strong. There's a huge announcement that's going to be coming up. I'm working behind the scenes on a few different things. A few podcasts that I'll be launching or working with or collabing with. Some people put out, I can't really release what's going on behind the scenes, but let's just say this. I'm not just going to be talking about the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to be doing more of the national stuff, talking about all things NFL. A lot of people, a lot of my colleagues seem to think that's where I'm trending. So I'm very happy to announce that I'll be making that switch very shortly. And yeah, the hard work is paying off. It's all thanks to you. For those who don't know, people are asking me, how come you're unverified on Twitter? Well, it's because I changed my name, my username from BEASTwriter _ to BEASTwriter. It prompted a unverification badge, and I had no idea that there was no warning. Actually, when I changed it, it was fine. And then a few days later, it was gone. And then I tried to call customer support to see what's going on. Turns out you can't change the BEASTwriter _ you can't change the verified account for the username because it's tied to that account. So then I switched it to BEASTwriter _ and now I'm trying to fight for the badge back, but no one's responding to me. So yeah, that's where I am. So I am the unverified beast. The unverified beast. Let's just go with that, but whatever. You guys know I was verified, and that's the story behind that. I'm trying to get it back, but no one's getting back to me. So if you guys know anyone on Twitter that can help me get re-verified simply because my account was tied to my username and I just removed the _, it prompted my loss of verified badge. Now I had to get it back by putting back the _ let me know, because they're not getting back to me. I tried customer support tickets. I tried reaching out to help Twitter support, tried going on LinkedIn. Not helping at all. But I guess that's the way it is. It was my mistake in the end. I shouldn't have changed it, but then, yeah. So it is what it is. I had no idea that would do that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made that mistake in the first place. All right. Kevin Jeter from YouTube says, Trent Williams walking would be good for the 49ers. We need to. Yes, I agree with you. Great analysis, Kevin Jeter. Are you related to Derek Jeter? That'd be awesome if you were. But I know it's a long shot because obviously. But Jeter, I never heard the last name Jeter before. You're the first outside of Derek Jeter. All right. Let's move on. 49ers Ultimate Report. Most YouTubers don't answer their viewers' questions, and thanks for being part of the fam. Thank you so much. Yes, everybody here is part of the BEASTwriter family on YouTube. The social media engagement is legit. If you watch the comments below in every podcast episode, just read them. Go ahead and chime in. Everyone here is about good vibes only. No one is trying to outdo the other. No one's calling each other idiots or you're dumb, bro, or with the clown emoji. Like, that's all for these other social media platforms. Here in YouTube, it's all about them good vibes only. The BEASTwriter family has fan bases from all over the country. I mean, you're talking about Carolina Panthers fans, Arizona Cardinals fans, Seattle Seahawks fans, Bengals fans, Ravens fans, Steelers fans, Packers fans, Niner fans, of course, Raiders fans. So we're trying to build all 32 fan bases into one as I cover all 32 NFL teams, and we can have a strong, healthy debate. I think that's what's missing in today's society, especially in the age of information, is that so many people on social media are trying to outdo the other. Like, how can I one up this person? Oh, my point is right and yours is wrong, and this is why. Oh, you're dumb for thinking that. Oh, it's like, dude, like, what? Ultimately, none of our analysis really even matter because we're not the GM making these decisions in the first place. So what are we talking about? Why are we arguing? I don't know. I just think it's dumb in itself. I think everyone has a voice, and just because I have this social media platform doesn't give me a bigger voice than you, because we are all can have an opinion about something. So I just think it's ridiculous. I don't know. All right. Max Dahl says, what's your favorite protein for tacos? Carnitas all the way. Well, Max, thank you for tuning in. I am doing something for the very first time today. I thought about this late last night. People were asking for me to start up my mukbangs. Again, if you're just following me on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. You guys are going to see what it's like in the day in the life of Beast. Obviously, you guys also know that I personal train. I also compete in the NPC world, going for my IFBB Pro card, doing a lot of things with Bay Area Rooted, my clothing line. So there's a lot of things going on. And people are like, dude, I know you eat a lot because I follow you on Instagram. And, you know, with you're a fitspiration, as they say on Instagram. And, you know, I do the IG modeling and all that other stuff, but I don't post that on my other social media outlets. But one of the things I do is I'm known to eat while working out, or known to eat, like, I'll be eating donuts while working out. True story. And you Niner fans know, at 24-hour Brokaw Gym, or if you're at 24-hour Milpitas Calaveras, you guys know, you guys come up to me, oh my gosh, this is what you eat? Like, yeah, like I like to eat. Like, I like to eat donuts. You know, I go over and go to Christie's Donuts down the street, get my coffee, come in. That's my pre-workout. I'll have a Rice Krispie treat. I'll have Kit Kats during my workouts. I'm not joking. If you're on Instagram, you will know my IG stories are lit when it comes to that. People just stare at me like, what the heck is this guy doing? They get mad. One of the times I brought In-N-Out for my pre-workout for my squat workout, and we were eating In-N-Out. I had a 4x4. I had some extra toasted bun on there, well done fries. And no, people were ridiculous. But no, today I'm going to do something for the first time. I'm going to be eating while answering your questions for Taco Tuesdays, and I'm going to be eating tacos. So if you guys want to see the crunch in my analysis, you guys are going to get it today. I don't know. I was thinking about doing that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. That could be kind of annoying, but like, dude, this guy's eating and talking at the same time. How rude. How rude. But no, to get back to your question, I actually had super nachos yesterday from Taqueria Los Conados. I don't know if you caught that, but you like carnitas? I'm not a fan of carnitas. I like carne asada. I think that's the way to go. I'm a steak guy. Carne asada all the way. All right. Rachi from YouTube says, awesome. Thank you for that search pro tip. Found the video. I will watch it after. Oh, see? Worked. Yeah, just Google search it. Obviously, now that I'm unverified, I think it's going to hurt my SEO a little bit because it's not showing up as relevant news because I'm unverified now, which kind of blows, but it is what it is. Whatever. Hopefully YouTube has my back. Looks like they do, and they see me as relevant. The channel is growing pretty fast, so I guess that's a good indicator too. All right, let's move on. Keith Baldwin says, Jimmy is injury prone. So getting to your question from YouTube, what's going on, Keith? Jimmy is injury prone. He makes too much money, and by resigning him, we won't be able to sign free agents. Trading Jimmy frees up $24 million. Actually, it's $23.6 million. No, but I get what you're saying. A no-brainer. Also, Rosen can't possibly be worse than Nick. That's very true. Or is it? I think Nick Mullins is better than Josh Rosen. That's just me. All right. Alexander Bridges says we need to re-sign Emmanuel Sanders. What are your thoughts on Emmanuel Sanders? Should the 49ers take a flyer on Emmanuel Sanders if he's released by the New Orleans Saints who signed a 2-year deal? In my opinion, I think your guys are looking at it from a 2019 perspective and not where the current state of the 49ers franchise is today. They are not 1 or 2 players away from reaching the Super Bowl. When John Lynch made that half-year rental trade by giving up a 3rd-round pick in return for Emmanuel Sanders, they were Super Bowl contenders. Not today. So I would say don't go after Emmanuel Sanders. I'd rather the team actually keep Kendrick Bourne. I like Kendrick Bourne. Now, who's better? Obviously, Emmanuel Sanders. But again, what's the asking price? And how can you actually target Emmanuel Sanders when you still have to re-sign in-house free agents like Kyle Juszczyk, Fred Warner, Jason Verrett, Trent Williams? There's just not enough money to go around. So with that being said, I wouldn't re-sign Emmanuel Sanders. But again, time will tell how that plays out. All right, Mike Brown from UT said, I think Falcons take Mac Jones at 4 and possibly in a trade down. Do you think that puts Ryan on June 1st trade block? Team don't have too many. Team doesn't have many or any contracts that can be restructured. Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are in salary cap hell. I don't see them getting rid of Matt Ryan as a post June 1 cut. Although I could be wrong. I think they want that quarterback to learn under Ryan's guidance. But then again, when you draft a quarterback inside the top 5 where the Atlanta Falcons are drafting at number 4 and pick up a guy like you think it's Mac Jones, that's really high. I think it's going to be ultimately become Zach Wilson. But getting back to that line of thinking, when you look at where the Atlanta Falcons are going with GM Terry Fontenot, he necessarily didn't say that he was in line with Matt Ryan or wasn't. Like if you watch the Huddle and Flow podcast with my man Jim Trotter and Steve Weish on NFL Network, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Look up the Terry Fontenot interview. He actually goes in detail about it. I don't want to ruin it because I want them to get some love too, and they know more about it than I do. So head over to the Huddle and Flow podcast. It was a podcast that was posted about last week, I want to say, and he spoke about exactly what their plans are at that quarterback position. He did touch base on this and said no player is untouchable, because when you say that, you're kind of diminishing the value of breeding competition. But there's some players that are untouchable. I'm telling you, there's always players that are untouchable. All right. Romero Puentes from YouTube. How you doing today, Romero? Appreciate you on Taco Tuesdays. Welcome to the BEASTwriter family. Ryan, do you want to TJ to eat some carne asada tacos in El Pastor? Did I go to TJ to eat some carne asada tacos in El Pastor? TJ, by you mean Tijuana? I've been to Tijuana, but I have not ate the carne asada tacos and El Pastor. No, I have not had that in TJ. But I think that's your question. I'm not too sure. If you have any questions, please be sure to ask them here. I'm going to clock in or clock out in a little bit. I'm going to grab some lunch, come back, and we're going to hop on that live stream on our weekly show at 2:30 p.m. as I do on every Tuesday for Taco Tuesdays, answering your questions. Did you guys hear about the Stephon Gilmore trade discussion to the San Francisco 49ers for a 2nd-round pick or something like that? I'm going to go ahead and talk about that in more detail for Taco Tuesdays at 2:30 p.m. Well, that'll be it for right now. I hope you like what I had to offer. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because you'll be entered away. You'll be entered for these giveaways, right? I'm telling you, man. Who else does this? Nobody. All right. BEASTwriter out. Peace.